Good morning, everyone. This is Balaji Siva. I'm part of the product team at OpsMx, and I have with me Gopinath Rabala. And thank you for attending a webinar on Terraform integration with Spinnaker. Terraform obviously is a very popular infrastructure as a code solution out there, and most people have asked us how to integrate that, because that is part of infrastructure deployment, is part of their CI/CD platform, and we have integrated with the open source Spinnaker. So this Terraform integration is open source, and also the integration is with the open source Spinnaker. So today, Gopinath will go over the integration. We have a Q&A. You could ask, there's a Q&A panel, questions in your GoToWebinar control panel. Please feel free to ask questions during the webinar, and we will be answering questions during the webinar. We also have a Q&A at the end of it. If for any reason you couldn't finish the session, this recording and the slides will be sent to you after the webinar, so don't worry about it. And if you want to attend this webinar again, or to listen to our previous webinars, you can go to our website and listen to the webinar on demand at any time. With that, let me get started. I want to give you a brief overview of OpsMx for people who are hearing us for the first time. We were founded about 3 years ago. Our primary offering is open source Spinnaker support, as well as an enterprise value-add layer on top of Spinnaker. We are funded by top-tier VCs, Foundation, and Dell Capital, and our team is quite large, including people from ex-Spinnaker Netflix team, as well as AWS and other companies around the world. There are over 50 people, and we are spread around the world to provide 24/7 coverage for Spinnaker. Our goal or vision of OpsMx is to be able to ship software without human intervention. The Spinnaker covers a lot of aspects of automating deployment of artifacts from Git check-in or artifact change all the way to the production with the automation through the pipeline. What we also want to add to this whole process is the ability to verify also continuously. So if you think about it, now that you've automated it, you want to be able to verify also continuously so that you're able to prevent any production failures due to a bad release going through the production. So that's part of our approach in our company, is to be able to provide a full solution that combines the glory of Spinnaker, the benefits of Spinnaker, with our autopilot solution to make it a full end-to-end CI/CD solution. For Spinnaker, for people who are not familiar with Spinnaker, I know you are here to talk about understand Terraform integration with Spinnaker. Spinnaker, for people who understand only Terraform and say, what is Spinnaker? I want to give you a 1-minute overview of Spinnaker. Spinnaker is a great multi-cloud deployment tool. So today you may be using Jenkins and other legacy tools like IBM udeploy, etc., to craft your CI/CD process. And there's a lot of custom stages or custom scripting and manual steps that's involved in your CI/CD process today. So Spinnaker is a great multi-cloud tool. Many of the cloud providers are automatically available out of the box, like AWS, EC2, now Lambda is getting added, EKS, Google and Microsoft, Kubernetes, etc. is out of the box available, so that your developers can go from their artifact to deployment quickly without having to do any custom scripting. That comes as part of the automated release process, so you can trigger pipelines based on any of events that you can think of, and be able to deploy all of the applications, rollback even if needed in an automated fashion. So you can deploy safely. Some of the strategies that people typically use for rollout, such as blue-green or Kennedy or rolling update, they're all pre-built for you. There's also an automated verification that is available, so that you can also verify during those kind of rollouts whether the new release is good or not. And also, one of the things that's understated aspect of Spinnaker is the end-to-end visibility of releases from dev to ops. Devs can check where their code check-in, whether the pipeline got triggered and where it got stuck in the pipeline, if it gets stopped or it fails. And ops can see obviously end-to-end, and dev can see that the released version are actually deployed in the clusters, all in one dashboard. So Gopi will go through the UI a little bit, and you'll see the end-to-end visibility and control you can get with Spinnaker. And so if you haven't actually worked with Spinnaker yet, feel free to check it out at spinnaker.io, or you can reach out to us. Spinnaker is not, you're not the first person using it. Obviously, it's been used by a lot of people around the world. A lot of big companies are using it. Obviously, Netflix is using it internally in their 9 to 10,000 pipelines that they have, and 5 to 6,000 deployments a day, widely, heavily used. And a lot of other companies like Cisco, Optimizely, and Google, the Waze team is using Cloudera, Pure Storage. A lot of companies are using Spinnaker, so you should feel comfortable in terms of using it in production. And also you have support of all the major cloud providers in supporting adding new features and adding new capabilities and adding the new platforms to Spinnaker. So basically Spinnaker comes out of the box with support for all of these cloud providers. And there's quite a bit of active community going on. We also have something called a Spinnaker Summit coming up in November, basically 6 weeks from now, and right before KubeCon. We are OpsMx is one of the sponsors, platinum sponsors of the Spinnaker Summit. So if you are interested in Spinnaker, you should check it out. If you're attending KubeCon, feel free to attend the pre-event, which is the Spinnaker Summit event. If you are interested, there's a 20% discount code. You can use OpsMx20, one word, OpsMx20, to get 20% discount to the Spinnaker Summit registration. Or you can also email us at hello@opsmx.com, and we can connect you with it. With that, I'm going to transfer the ball over to Gopi to go over Terraform integration. Again, just to reiterate, it's an open source Terraform solution that works with open source Spinnaker. There's nothing proprietary about this, what you're going to see. Gopi, go ahead. I'm going to give you the.
Yep, can you give me that?
Yep, I'll give you the down. Yep, there you go.
All right, thanks, Balaji. So Balaji just went through an overview of Spinnaker and where we stand in terms of usage and the requirements for Terraform. Today, we'll walk through some of the use cases where the Spinnaker is great at, and some of the use cases that it's not built into the Spinnaker, and how Terraform can help with some of those. And then we'll see what the integration looks like with the Terraform, do a demo, and give you access to the code where you can run it yourself. Right? As Balaji mentioned, the Spinnaker is an open source multi-cloud continuous delivery platform. It's a purpose-built for DevOps. It's a great tool that allows from code to deploy with the visibility for both the developers and operations, and it provides the risk management with the deployment strategies and continuous verification. But it is built for cloud, and the challenges in this continuous delivery, as opposed to continuous integration, where we have seen with the Jenkins, which most corporations have adopted, and it's well run, is that it's not a immediate process. In a build and unit test, it's a fairly quick round-trip process where you see the results, and it's one group or one individual that's involved. But in the continuous delivery, you have multiple groups that are involved in approval process as well as testing and moving from staging to production. So the visibility across all these groups is critical for improving their process. And also as a deployment to the production in a continuous delivery, you need to have the deployment strategies and risk management strategies that are built in to be able to roll back quickly if something goes wrong, either manually or automated way. So all of these are built into Spinnaker, and it's purpose-built for cloud environments. So there are some of the use cases that are not built into Spinnaker, which it's, for example, if you want to bring up the infrastructure for multiple cloud environments. There are some clouds that are well supported, like AWS, even for the infrastructure, but for others, it's not built in. So there are use cases where you would have in the test, you want to bring up the entire infrastructure, deploy your application, test, and tear it down, right? So those kind of things are interesting use cases that are commonly used. And some of these use cases like traditional application configuration, you have an Apache running, you want to change the configuration of that or deploy a jar file into a Tomcat. So those are the use cases that are not built into the Spinnaker, because Spinnaker, we believe it's immutable server concept is the one that works the best. Going forward with the container environments and microservices, immutable servers is the one that allows us to do continuous delivery. But usually enterprises have applications that are hybrid. There are built-in softwares that are currently running in production that are not catering to the immutable servers. So then you need a single tool that allows you to deliver to these hybrid applications. So those are some of the use cases that we have done extensions to. There are multiple strategies that we can use, and Terraform is one of them. Similarly, for the production infrastructure, you want to keep the production infrastructure in a stable state. So once you bring up the configuration, you want that to be always in sync. And you know what's changing, what's not changing. It has to go through a certain process. All of that needs to be managed through config as a code. And bare metal on-prem. So there are still like hybrid applications. You have bare metals applications still running on-premise. These are some of the things that even Terraform doesn't do quite well, but there are strategies that we apply. So we look at some of these, how Terraform helps in doing that, and integration with Spinnaker gives you this additional visibility across different organizations to deliver your code. Don't want to go into too much detail of what Terraform does and what the features are, but I would like to point out here, the state management is one of the key requirements for Terraform. The way Terraform manages the infrastructure or the applications is to keep the state of what's been deployed. And any new changes that we are trying to apply, it will look at the state that it already has, and based on that, it makes the decisions. This is somewhat different than what Spinnaker does. Spinnaker does not try to keep the state and use that state to apply the new configurations. It uses discovery mechanisms on the target using, say, in AWS tags or annotations in Kubernetes, and similar strategies in other cloud environments. But Terraform requires a state. The reason that it's interesting is we need to make sure when you integrate with Spinnaker, that state management is also taken care of. The other one is, of course, it's providers. You can have plugin extensions to Terraform to the providers that it doesn't currently support. For example, you can apply configuration to Spinnaker through Terraform. But that's not what we would recommend, but that's something that you can do and extend using Terraform. So in general, the workflow in Terraform goes through init. This is the stage where the state information is initialized. You can have the state information stored in a remote kit, pull it in and init, so it has the configuration where you're running on a new server. And you have these modules that you construct, you can do a plan on it. When you have the resources defined with what you're trying to apply to target environments, you can create dependencies. Based on the requirements of these dependencies, Terraform will generate a directed acyclic graph of the order in which they need to be deployed, and generates the plan for it. We can visually look at the plan and approve it, and then you can apply. And once it's applied in the test environments, for example, if you want to destroy, you can apply the destroy based on the state it already knows that it has applied. It would go ahead and destroy the environment. So these are the typical stages in it. Spinnaker is a great orchestration tool. It allows you to orchestrate a complex workflows that can run in serial or parallel with the stages. We'll take a look at what the stages mean and how we would do that. And it makes sense to map these workflow stages of Spinnaker, so Terraform, into the Spinnaker pipeline stages. So it maps quite well, and you can use these stages for visibility and execution. We talked about the Terraform resource a little bit on what it means to the provider and how it applies. Because there can be complex infrastructure that you're creating. You could be creating multiple VPCs and you're creating gateways and attaching the routes to them. All of that can also have some dependencies on other resources. So what the approach we are taking is all of these modules, you can place them in a remote repository like a Git. And during the execution of your pipeline, you would just point to that. So in this example, we have a couple of examples that we pre-built. Here we are creating a internet gateway in AWS, and there is another example that you would create resources in Kubernetes, like namespace, and then deploy using Spinnaker within that namespace. Okay. So now coming to how this works with the Spinnaker. Spinnaker has this extension capabilities with running additional scripts through a webhooks or a job capabilities. So we've taken both approaches. We created this service that runs as a microservice in parallel to Spinnaker services. The interesting thing is that once you configure some of these accounts in Spinnaker, it's like your Git account or cloud provider accounts, the service that's being deployed in parallel, the Terraform service that we have, reuses those accounts that were already configured. So you don't need to reconfigure the same kind of accounts in Terraform service. And once those accounts are configured, it's just running as a microservice in parallel to the Spinnaker. So it's a seamless extension of existing Spinnaker services. And it also becomes as part of the Spinnaker stages through a webhook service, a custom stage that we did. You can use the Terraform service independent of Spinnaker and also as part of the Spinnaker stages with pipeline execution stages. You can create each of these workflow stages like a plan, apply, destroy, all of that as part of the Spinnaker that shows up in your construction of the pipeline, and you can save that as a code and retrieve it in new pipelines executions through the templates. And the state management is also pre-built in. So this Terraform service knows the state of what you're applying because it's a multi-tenant kind of a situation where you can have multiple applications running simultaneously, creating different infrastructures, different applications. All the state management is specific to the service that you're deploying in an application. So it knows what you're trying to do. And based on that, when you reapply, it uses the state that it knows based on the application pipeline that you're using and uses that, passes on to the Terraform to apply that. And here is how you would apply the configuration of Terraform stage to Spinnaker. If you're familiar with webhook stages in Spinnaker, you can pre-configure the stage as a configuration and specify where your service is running. If you're running your Spinnaker in Kubernetes, you would be running it as a service in a deployment. We have the code that will allow you to do that. If you're running it on a VM, whether you're running it on Ubuntu, you could run it as a service, and we have deployment scripts that will allow you to do that. Right? So here is a quick example of how it would look as part of the Spinnaker stage. And as you're creating the pipeline, we will go through this example right now. As you're creating the pipeline, it gives you an option of using the Terraform plan or apply. And you can specify those parameters and you can run the pipeline. So now we'll just go to the demo. So if you're familiar with Spinnaker, you can see this is a Spinnaker UI. Here we are in an application called Terraform demo. Spinnaker provides you with the two immediate functionalities. One is the pipelines, where this is the continuous delivery system. Here you can define your stages. This is what the Spinnaker will orchestrate. You can have these stages run in parallel, or you can run in serial. You can provide a complex orchestration to it. I'm not going to save that. And the second one is this applications. Whatever is deployed, you get access to all the applications that are deployed. You can act on these applications based on the permissions that you have. And you can see what load balancers there are connected to. And for each of these individual deployments, you can actually look at the logs and look at the status, troubleshoot them. So coming back to the pipeline where we are going to run, I'll start this one and then go through the explanation of what it's doing. So here we can see this configuration in the Terraform plan. What are we passing into the plan? Here we are saying what is the target provider that we want to use. Here it's a Kubernetes account. Here, this one is again permissions based. If you're running it against the user that I'm currently logged in, you can provide permissions around that for that account, and only the users who have permissions are allowed to do it. And here we are specifying the remote account that where the Terraform modules are specified, where the scripts are. As you can see, it's specifying that in this Git account, this is the module that we want to use. So quickly to show here is where it is. This is all accessible to you. We'll provide you with the links that you can go try them out yourself. So now as the pipeline is running, one thing you can see is this is a manual judgment, right? As you look at the plan, we can see that the plan has been executed. Now there is a output from the plan that we can also see. We are trying to make this a little bit more easy to use. So you can see that plan, it's going to create a namespace called dev Terraform system. And we will say, okay, we like that. That's what we want to do. We continue. As we continue here, what you can see is also this manual judgment. It allows you two things. One is to make sure the plan that it's created is what you want to execute. The second thing it's allowing you to do is also give permissions on whether you want to promote or not. So for example, when I'm validating here, if I have the propagate authentication, it also has an additional capability of restricting only the groups that have access to promoting get promoted. So now it has applied it. So we can actually see what it has applied as a plan and look at the output. So it says, okay, it has already created the Terraform system. Now there is a namespace that got already created. And what we have done is after the namespace creation, we went ahead and deployed a service in it, a service and a deployment. You can see the deployment manifest, the status of it, and how long it took to stabilize all of that deployments with the pods. And here we can see that it actually deployed two of them. Previously, as you saw, there was no Kubernetes deployments there. Now you can actually see the Kubernetes in deployment. In the deployment, you can scale it up. You can undo the rollout. There is a service that's connected to it with the IP. And if for each one of the pods that are deployed, you can also look at the logs and see what output they're giving. So it gives you that application view, DevOps. Now, this is the time, if it is a test use case, you would go ahead and run your tests and make sure everything is going through fine. And then after everything is done, as a last step, we have a destroy. So after everything is done, you would say, I'm done with my approvals, testing, everything is good. I want to go destroy this current environment. So simply go ahead with the pipeline. It will allow you to go ahead and remove the infrastructure using the Terraform. Right? So you can, using this process, you can integrate a complex workflows of not only bringing up the infrastructure using Terraform, but also use the Spinnaker native built-in cloud native modules to deploy to Kubernetes, AWS, GCP, Azure, any of these environments that are already built in, with strategies that allow you to do blue, green, and other deployment types. So here is the example of where you have AWS. It's a very similar, as you can see. You go ahead and plan, apply, and validate. However, here we are now using the AWS account, and the module that we are using is the same module. We have a different plan, AWS VPC, and that is what we apply. So as you can see, it's a fairly simple integration that you can use with your system for creating the infrastructure and then applying Spinnaker native built-in strategies to deploy. For example, if you are trying to do a creation of the VPC and then deploying a server group, you can do it in the blue-green fashion. You can do it in rolling updates, and then you can also have automated verification applied to it using our autopilot or kind of the Spinnaker. So it gives you the entire view across with risk managed options. Right? So we can let's start this one off to just show you it works. And yeah, so it's going through. So the code lab, we have a code lab built in that you can download and start using it with Spinnaker. This code lab, you can see, is here. We can have complete instructions in deploying it on Ubuntu Server as a service, or you can deploy it to Kubernetes as a service right now. We are also converting this into a job, so you don't actually have to run it as a service anymore. You just make it part of your deployment stage. It will come up, sets up with the state and apply whatever the plan and execute based on your instructions, and then go away. So you don't have to have this service running. There's no installation requirements. All you need to do is configure it as a job. That's it. So that's one of the changes that are coming. But right now, you could run it as a service, use these URLs to go ahead and try it out yourself. So that's a very quick overview of Spinnaker and Terraform integration. And if you have any questions, we can go over that.
Hey, thanks, Gopi. I think that was very useful. Hopefully, people found it interesting. The information is available. You can visit the URL that's shown here, the Code Lab, and it has actually, maybe click on it if you haven't shown it already. It just actually walks you through how to get the Terraform service and to install it, the whole thing that you can get from that Code Lab option. Obviously, the source code is here. Feel free to submit any issues, and we will be able to take a look at it and try to fix it. And obviously, you can also submit your PR if you feel like that you could contribute to it. And this is the Code Lab that Gopi is showing, where you can see it starts off with what it is, and also how to install the Terraform service. This Terraform service is open source, as you can see from the GitHub, and also it works with the open source Spinnaker. So we don't have any proprietary things that is there. So everything is open source. Feel free to use it and provide us feedback. You can reach us at hello@opsmx.com if you want support or anything like that, and we're happy to talk to you about it. I want to launch a quick poll before we get into the Q&A portion. Let me launch the poll. Feel free to answer the questions and let me know where you are with your Spinnaker journey. So the question is, where are you in your Spinnaker journey? Are you in production, using it in production, or are you evaluating it, or you plan to evaluate it, or no plans? If you can just take a minute to quickly click on it, that would be great. I'll give another 30 more seconds. I think we got a fairly good response there. 10 more seconds. All right, I think I'm going to stop this. So here's what the results show. Most of you are, nobody's in production, which is surprising because I think that's fine because the audience obviously is trying to learn about Spinnaker. So the people you're not in production yet, but many are evaluating and many are planning to evaluate. That's great. Again, we can help you with the evaluation or your plans to evaluate. So feel free to reach out to us. So with that, I'm gonna go to the questions. I think one of the question is why pick Spinnaker or Terraform Cloud? I'll answer it, Gopi, and you can also think about what the answer is. Why pick Spinnaker or Terraform Cloud? Spinnaker is a comprehensive CI/CD tool. It has support for all kinds of clouds, and it's not about infrastructure. It's about deploying applications, managing the pipeline, templates, the thing that an application developer or application deployer would care about. Terraform Cloud is great if you're only managing Terraform plans. And this integration with what we just showed you allows you to use the existing Terraform plan with your Spinnaker and use Spinnaker as a CI/CD tool. And if your only goal is to use Terraform plans, then you'll probably go with Terraform Cloud because there's no need to use Spinnaker for that. So Gopi, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd say that for the continuous delivery, the clean visibility that Spinnaker provides and the ability for developers to do self-service without having to know a lot about so how to deploy something helps a lot. And the built-in deployment strategies with the blue-green rolling updates that are applied across all possible clouds is an added feature that allows you to manage risks and automated verification that comes with Spinnaker and with our autopilot that can do both logs and metrics as part of the pipeline to manage the rolling into production or rollbacks on failure. All of that makes it very easy for you to manage your risk going to production deployments, which you don't get with Terraform.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you just want to manage Terraform plan, then absolutely use the Terraform, Enterprise or Terraform Cloud that they call it now. Okay, next question is, how do you handle keys? Do you want to talk about how Spinnaker handles keys, or it may be in the context of Terraform, Gopi?
So in terms of the accounts and the security accounts around them, we have integrations with Vault, where we store all the secrets in the Vault. Each of these services accounts, it can refer to secrets keys in the Vault and use it from there. So essentially using secrets management through that, and there is a built-in authorization on top of these accounts. So we have Spinnaker integrated with LDAP, Google Groups, etc., and single sign-on is also there. So there is an added security layer or the authorization layer to allows who are the users who can trigger the pipeline, who are the users who can actually use an account, and each of these accounts, their secrets are managed through Vault.
Got it. If you want to ask a question live, feel free to press on the hand button there in the panel, and I will open up your mic so you can ask a question directly. While we're waiting, I think one of the other questions that I typically get, I think today is how do I get support for Spinnaker? Now, as you're saying, you're trying to evaluate or you're evaluating it. How do I get support for it? Obviously, there's a few options. One is you have a Spinnaker Slack channel. So you go to Spinnaker Slack channel and ask questions there, and many of us actually are on the Slack channel, and we'll be able to answer it, and so is the rest of the community. community is pretty large, about 7,000, so you may get some answers from there if needed. If you want a more one-on-one support or more enterprise level support, OpsMx do offer Spinnaker support 24 by 7 or business hours, whichever you want to choose, and we're happy to provide support for open source Spinnaker. So feel free to email us if you have questions on that. Okay, next question. Is it a SaaS service or can be installed on customer cloud? So this Terraform service can be installed on the cloud. So basically, it's basically a container. Maybe Gopi, you can talk about the form factor of the Terraform service, but definitely you can install in your own on-prem.
Yes, so we offer it both as a container that deployment that runs inside Kubernetes, or a container as a separate service that runs on in parallel to a VM installation of Spinnaker. Both are supported. You can deploy them on-prem. For the SaaS version of Spinnaker, we do offer the service to host Spinnaker for you. And if you're using the SaaS version, then this will come as a option that you can add to Spinnaker.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So yeah, if your question was around whether Spinnaker is a SaaS, then yes. The customers typically deploy on-prem on their Kubernetes cluster, but we also have customer or end users rather who want to fully maintain and they don't want to maintain the Spinnaker itself. Spinnaker is a microservice, about 10 microservice. They don't want to maintain it because there's a new version coming out every day, and they want to make sure that things are automatically done for them. And so we offer a SaaS option or basically a hosted option. We are on Google Cloud, but if you want us to maintain it for you in your own cloud, then we can do that also. So hopefully that answers the question for you. So if feel free to ask any more questions. We can hold on for one more question. Can Spinnaker container be integrated with Jenkins? Gopi.
Yeah, so Spinnaker is well integrated with Jenkins. If you look at, maybe I can quickly show. For example, we want to run a job as part of Spinnaker pipeline. We can then select Jenkins, and within the Jenkins, you can then select any of the masters that you have. It allows you to select which job you want to run. You can pass in the parameters from Spinnaker to the Jenkins, and when the Jenkins job runs, the parameters can come back into the Jenkins, which can be used in the subsequent stages of Spinnaker. So there's a very tight integration with Jenkins that's done with Spinnaker. So if you have a CI with Jenkins, then it seamlessly works with Spinnaker. You can have triggers coming from Jenkins that allow Spinnaker pipelines, or you can have Jenkins jobs run from within the Spinnaker pipeline.
It's okay. I think it has integration to other CI tools as well, right, Gopi? Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, so the integration to Cloud Build is fully automated, similar to Jenkins. The Travis CI is another one that's fully integrated. So there are other strategies if you're using something else, but these generally cover a large number of CI through Spinnaker.
Right, and it is open source, so there's people adding new things every day, and or you can also contribute if you think that there's something specifically missing from that. There's new version coming out every 2 to 3 weeks, and major version coming out every 2 months. So there's a lot of additions happening every day. So, all right, any other questions? Maybe one more minute before we hang up here, and I will send out the recording of this session as well as the slides and things like that after this webinar. Okay, so feel free to email us at hello@opsmx.com if you have any other questions that's not answered or you didn't think about it yet. Feel free to do it. Thank you for attending. Have a great day.
Thanks, Balaji. Have a good day. everyone.